My name is Alvaro Nabangi. I am an IT professional. I currently work as a DevOps engineer for a company called Atlantis Technologies back here in Kenya, in Nairobi. That's in the capital. I have 6+ years of experience. I have a strong background as system administrator. So I started from support all the way, and I'm still continuing. So basically, my tech stack is Linux, Python, AWS Cloud Computing, Kubernetes, Jenkins, Zabbix, Prometheus, and Grafana. What I do on the part time is I do a lot of networking, share ideas. I love art. I'm a love of art. It could be painting, could be music, could be theater arts. I'm a love of art. So basically, yeah, and I read a lot of novels. So that keeps me going in my part time. Yeah, apart from playing football. Thank you very
That's
much.
great. A wide range of interests.
Yes,
That's nice.
adventurous is what I am.
Oh. Great. So you have been working in DevOps for some time. Like I've seen
Mhm,
DevOps is a hot term now. Like a lot of people want to shift in.
mhm.
So can you tell more about what exactly you do?
Well, DevOps is it's quite hot right now, and basically for where as in the position I am in right now, I am basically in a space where I do a lot of cloud support, and I help in pipelining and help in quick deployments, quick integrations. So I'm mostly on ensuring the environments we have and the processes we have are going smoothly between us, the operations, and the developers. Yeah. So basically, it's like an in between, but which also makes me love coding. Yeah. But I don't code. I have not been employed as a coder,
Mhm.
but I code as a hobby, and I learn coding so that I'm able to understand if I'm supposed to deploy an application. At least I know the basics, or at least if the developer is supposed to explain to me something, or I can even help them troubleshoot something because I understand the basics. Yeah. So having the basics is a really good thing when it comes to DevOps, understanding the basic of IT support, even server administration, networking basics, then programming. Once you couple them up, it really gives you a good footing to move forward and now gain more experience with more tools. Because before you use the tools, you need to also know what the tools really are doing. I I tend to find it like that.
Okay. That's like when we talk of DevOps, what comes to my mind is a wide range of tools and a new tool coming up every day in the market.
Yes.
And that is quite mind boggling for a newcomer. I don't know where to start. How
Uh,
did you start?
to be honest, I started with the basics because with DevOps comes with so many tools which are employed. But before, like I said, um, when you understand a bit of the basics on, for example, I don't know, maybe I can give a scenario. Um, you have um, you have an application. It could be um, an application that is supposed to register users, get their contributions and whatnot. So having this application, is it written in Python, PHP, JavaScript? I mean, understanding the languages and the framework it is using. Because even before you use the framework, you need to understand the languages. Then from there, I am able to gauge and know what is the best solution to use in terms of um, do I need to use a Wildfly that is a web service to run it? That is for Java, basically the JBoss applications, or do I just go with the basic uh, Apache, Nginx, and whatnot? There are many web services applications, web services you could use out there to deploy your application. But having that understanding and how efficient it is, or how lean it is, the limitations it has, the also understanding if you want to integrate a load balancer, is it going to accommodate that? Or if it's a microservice, which is the best way to deploy these microservices and whatnot. That brings about decoupling of applications. Now that's now advancing to the next level. But before that, once you understand the basics and what is really needed, even the networking aspect, where I know I will use this a certain port on a certain web server to expose it, understanding the DNS, how it works, domain service systems, basically. That helps you to really be a good solutions provider, even before I could say a solutions architect. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
hope
like so you started with the basics and then you picked up based on the architecture, based on the understanding of why a particular tool is required, and then you actually picked up the tool. Is that what
exactly.
you mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I could give a history of
Yeah.
my background, how it started.
Yeah, that
So
would be great.
basically, how it started was I was doing my diploma back in Strathmore, and then I decided, as I'm studying, I need something that complements my studies or my education, the course I'm doing, and I'd like to have a good experience, be well prepared for the industry and for the corporate world, because that's where I was heading. So I decided to get a job in the university still, to do IT support in the computer labs. So from there, I started knowing the basics of networking. Basically, the TCP, OSI layer, how every layer is critical and what it does, and then understanding the basic concepts of IT support, how to troubleshoot, how to even when to ask for help, because you always don't know. Because I also learned that even those who are ahead of me, the things they never knew, or they have to keep referring to, had a point of reference, so they always had to ask. So you also need to be willing to ask questions, to learn and to ask, because that's how we share knowledge. You can't, it is broad and it's dynamic, it grows every day, so you can't just get everything at once and move with it. You always need to um, refine your thoughts, interact with people, learn from people, and share with people as well. So from there on, I moved into now system administration, from being a help desk guy, moving to system administration, and now I was handling servers, big switches, network switches. I was handling 150 users at the time, with branches at the same time. And then those, now the IP, the voice system, the IP phones. So there was a broad, there's a broad spectrum of technologies I was interacting with, and I had to learn. But I had to be patient also with myself, because as much as I am needed to deploy all these things and whatnot, I had to be very particular. I chose to be a detail doer, because I don't want to do it and leave it. I want to do it and finish it and accomplish and learn something from it, then build on it and move. That way, I am able to have sort of like a track record and have some reference. And I'm also able to impart knowledge back to someone else. For example, when I left the first organization I worked with as a system administrator, I actually had to do knowledge transfer. So I made sure I had enough documentation that I had left, and also directions on how they would do some of the things I had already done, so that they're not left in the blind and knowing nowhere to go to. So most of us technical guys are not so fond of documentation. We really don't like doing a lot of documentation, but it comes in handy. Even, I mean, right now I try to do blogging. I have a blog. I'm still struggling, but I'm keeping up. I have, I think, 3 articles that I'm writing, and just try to document things that you've done, try to share with the open source community, share what you've learned, what it does. I mean, it's amazing when you actually learn something and you share. It has a really good feeling as a techie. You feel like you're really transforming the world in a way. So in the small things, like we're having this video right now, it's a sharing platform where someone gets inspired, someone gets to learn something, and they're able to push. So yeah.
That is nice. So, in terms of actual tools that you learned, like you said, you started with languages and started with Python, and like
Uh,
what was the
ah,
sequence?
well, actually, the first language I actually did was PHP. Yeah,
PHP.
I
Okay.
did. Yeah, the hypertext. So I did PHP. Then I went on to I tried the frameworks. I learned CodeIgniter to
Hmm.
start with. I did a project with CodeIgniter. Then from there, I moved to Laravel later on. I also did a
Okay.
project with Laravel. Then I moved on to now Python, and I played with
Okay.
Django. And I did now, since I'm in the system administration, or rather, as a system engineer, there was a lot of things that needed me to do have a standardization. You know, the same way developers have versioning, I wanted to have, when I push configurations to a certain switch or server, I'd like it to be standard. So I decided to come up with scripts. I started learning how to script. Yeah,
Okay.
so now Python also came in handy. Those bash scripts that I did, those are in C. Um, I also did, working with the Windows environment. There was also PowerShell scripts that I also had to learn, especially when dealing with managing the Active Directory and running configurations
Hmm.
and deploying group policies and whatnot. So there was a lot of that. So I loved it that it made things easier, the automation aspect of things. And from there is when now I started embracing orchestration. And now I found tools like Ansible,
Okay.
Chef, Puppet. So, but I mostly use Ansible for orchestration in a build up from the very manual tasks to automation. I learning what exactly I'm doing and what it's doing before I grow into the frameworks. I think it's a good thing to understand the language first before you use a tool or a framework that has mostly integrated a lot of libraries and tools for you. So once you understand the language, even troubleshooting an application becomes easier, or even you deploying and designing uh, uh, maybe a solution becomes easier for you, and even knowing which is the best solution you want to use, because you might want to use JavaScript where Python is really was going to make it easier for you, you know, or
Yeah.
yeah. And in time, then I made there's especially actually when it comes to orchestration, there's the JSON and there's the YAML files. So also now knowing how they borrow and how they relate and knowing which one you'd use. Um, I use YAML most of the time because I'm more of inclined to Python, but
Okay.
JSON is also good. So just trying to understand where you're coming from. It's the same thing with the IDEs. I started with the Notepad plus plus. I mean, that was really
Hmm.
hardcore. Then I went to Sublime. Sublime gave us some interfaces and tried a few things, but right now I'm on VS Code. And I mean, VS Code has so many extensions and so many tools. It's amazing. So I appreciate that journey and the efficiency that technology really also comes with it, as much as things are changing daily.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, how is a day in your at your work? Like, is the day at work for a DevOps engineer or a DevOps architect?
Okay. Um, Mostly we would have we have I attend the Scrum meetings. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have the 15 minutes meetings that we have every day in the morning once you check in. So after the meeting, and we discuss what challenges you might be having, what steps you've made, and then we basically doing the roadmap, the agile process and whatnot. I also take part in those meetings. Then after that, now I get back to my desk and I proceed with my day's tasks. I update my Jira tasks. I do a lot of Jira is a tool for tracking the tasks you're doing, the milestones you're doing, and whatnot. Basically, for every iteration that you're on. So that's my day is basically mostly that way. It's the meetings and the work, ensuring it's deployed, then helping sometimes, being cross-functional because you work as a team. So someone has an issue, you also have the knowledge or expertise about this particular language and you can help, or this tool better than they do and they are learning it as they're doing it, you help them out. So like that, we grow each other as we go. So my day is very, I'd say it's a very interesting, it could be intense sometimes, but I find it to be very interesting since I love adventure. I find it to be very engaging, and it keeps me on toes. So there's no time that I'm bored at work because I know I'm going to learn something new. Yeah, and that's beautiful. Even when it's a challenge and it's stressful, you will learn something from it. And yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So you really love that work and you enjoy it, and you're in the
I
right
do.
domain. But like, have
I
you
do.
seen people that I've seen people who land in DevOps and then they get frustrated with that work. They somehow realize that it is not my job. Like,
Well,
what are the
uh-huh.
wrong things in, like, what are the pain points in DevOps that somebody should evaluate before going into DevOps?
Well, it needs persistence, because the times when things just don't work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because frustration, you'll get frustrated if you had poor planning or a poor design, or you failed to organize your task well, or you basically did not well, sometimes you may not anticipate, but the good thing is always know that things are bound to fail. If you have that mindset of knowing things will always fail, you'll always have a provision for it. So do not assume that just because it's working it will always work. Yeah, things, I mean, they always fail. So because you know that, you'll always try put measures of either it's high availability or fault tolerance, based on, of course, on your budgets and whatnot and what you have. I mean, you have to consider that. But at the same time, one has to have the mindset of you're there to, it's quite an interesting journey, because there are times when things really works and run smooth, but then there are times when things stall, or you just find it like this is a complex solution. You're trying to deploy it, or you're trying to help come with a workaround, but it's not working. But the one thing you shouldn't do is use shortcuts. Try to put patches where they're not supposed to be, just because it will work, because in the long run it's going to fail you. Yeah, and you're going to go back to ground zero. So it's good to also know the best practices in the solutions you use. Be patient enough. I think I've learned to be patient enough to learn most of these the tools we use, and so that when it comes to deploying it, I am not just because I came to realize that when you don't have, you do not refine your skill or your knowledge or your expertise in a tool, you tend to have an uh, an infrastructure that is overloaded with too many unnecessary things, because you kept on putting things that were not even necessary. It's not running lean, it's not efficient, it's not as fast as maybe you thought it could be. So once you refine some of these things, you get to realize that you will only get to run what you need to run, and it even saves you on cost. For example, because if you're running on AWS and you have so many things running at the same time that shouldn't, then you'll have a crazy bill waiting for you at the end of the day. So it's good to have objectives, and this also comes in when I mean, not knowing is not a bad thing, but you trying, I mean, is encouraged, and just fail fast but learn fast as well. Failing forward and whatnot, having that mindset of you can try it, it will fail, but what's your plan B? How are we moving forward from here? Always try and have that fail forward phase mindset with you, where this is not, this might not work, but what would be the plan B? Yeah. And
Right.
then also just keep people informed, so that also you don't have too much pressure and whatnot. Just keep people informed. Sometimes that communication saves you, because and also not knowing is not a sin, or it's not something that people will pin you down on, because some of these technologies, I mean, as for me, every day I'm learning something new with some of these technologies that I used before, like Python. I'm still learning Python. I'm still learning. Right now, I'm learning a new framework called Vue.js in JavaScript.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to broaden my skill and try to learn something new. And sometimes I do something with this new framework that teaches me something I didn't learn with the other one. So sometimes it's funny how technology works. You learn something from something else that really you intended to learn with a different tool. But that's just how it works. What it means is you have to keep pushing. Continuous improvement is, I mean, is something you have to stick to. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, and what would be your advice to a fresher who's just passing out of college? Because when I passed out of college,
Yeah.
I really did not have many options. It was just learn C or Java. Java was really upcoming, C was the standard.
Yeah.
And but today, when somebody is passing out of college, he has such a wide range of options. You have data science booming, you have blockchain, and you have security, and you have IoT, and you have DevOps, and you have cloud and machine learning. Like you can't even count them. There's such a wide range of options.
True.
So how should one choose, and how should one decide the path forward? Like what is the right way for a fresher just coming out of college?
I think what I'd say, in my opinion, is um try get yourself maybe like an internship, or what, or a project. um like when I started learning PHP or as a developer, I wasn't even being paid. I just asked a friend, you have a project, I want to do this project with you and learn. So sometimes you can use that approach where you just want to learn. You're there to get the skill and to learn the basics. So learning the basics, for example, if you understand data structures and how data is stored, and how you can the algorithms and whatnot all around it. Once you have a good understanding of that, when it comes to the language, once you just understand the semantics of the language, and you know what you want to do, then it goes down to the functions, and how are you going to um, basically employ those functions and get things done. So the language might not really matter, but what you really want to do and the knowledge you have, the basics, would really guide you on the best thing to do. And plus, I also feel like these days, I feel like JavaScript has so much hype, yeah, and whatnot, and you might be tempted to like just go into JavaScript, but maybe interested into machine learning or artificial intelligence, and now you have to learn Python and whatnot. So understanding those things as well, knowing your strengths and weaknesses. I know it might take time, because you just finished, and school sometimes gives you a whole lot of information. You will learn almost everything to databases and whatnot. So you might be stuck and not knowing what you really want to do. But I'd say start with the things that you find that like maybe are easy to grasp. Those are easier to knock off. Then now give yourself challenges to go to the harder ones, and then see what rocks. Then with time, maybe And plus also being patient also gives you a good time to understand and grasp things, because when you're too anxious and you want to learn everything at once, you end up learning nothing. Yeah. So you have to go step by step, have like a schedule, or like I don't call it a timetable, but just plan yourself in a way that, for example, today you want to learn about a certain module, how functions are called, how uh, to to set variables, how to, depending on how you want to do, or you want to learn about networking, start learning by, the OSI model and what works there, then do the basics. You can CCNA material is online, I guess. You can get so many PDFs. You can just learn the basics of TCP/IP, IPv4, IP version 6, understand the basics. You don't need to really push yourself so much, but with time, you'll get to know what really rocks for you, and then, dive deep into it. So I guess the one thing is patience really does pay off. So things might be moving fast, people might be moving so fast, but when you're patient and you have a strategy in place and you've planned yourself, you will definitely you'll get to your spot. I believe that. Just have a strategy in mind, be patient, and aim for what you want. You'll get it. The strategy is key.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So are you planning to make some product or something down the line? What is your roadmap for? Have you thought about that?
Well, at the moment, I've been playing around with different technologies. I have done software-defined networking before. I've played around with Cumulus Linux, OpenSwitch, Azure Sonic. Right now, my main interest is in cloud computing, and I also have an interest in information security. I got fascinated. I tried doing what is it called? Ethical hacking, and I got fascinated by it. So I tried a few tools here and there. But right now, my main focus is in cloud computing. So I want to gain as much knowledge. I'm still learning. I'm actually on my journey to get certified on AWS. I'm currently an AWS community builder in the networking and content delivery topic. So there's a lot that I am learning, and I hope to share with people in good time. So I'm also being patient with myself. I don't want to just come out there and give knowledge that I haven't really synthesized on. So yeah, and you can imagine, I mean, it's well, you have very more years of experience than me, but I also sometimes feel like I'm a bit late on some things, but I believe I also have to be patient, because I can't just get everything going immediately and once and for all, because I need to get my tech stack intact, so that when I decide I'm going to offer a solution, I have a clear thought process and a clear design, and it also makes me even more confident in how I'm going to deploy it and whatnot. So, I mean, reliability is quite a good thing in the industry. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
It was a nice discussion. You emphasized on learning the basics. That's a very good
Yes.
point, and
Yes.
not taking shortcuts. As
Absolutely not.
that is the way to gather huge technical depth, and then most people get frustrated with their job because of that.
True.
And that's nice points you said.
Thank you very
Keep
much.
learning. That's interesting. I'm sure people will learn a lot from this.
Thank you very
I'm
much,
sure you will.
because
Thanks a lot for your time.
this is amazing. This is my first online video interview and
Oh,
interaction. Yeah, I've never done this before, so well, it is a first time for everything, I guess.
yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I normally tell myself, there's that phrase by Michelangelo where it says, "I'm still learning." I really go by that.